Good evening. Welcome to the Toon review at this slightly later time as usual of 7:30. That is all because my takeaway didn't turn up on time. Sorry about that, folks, but I had to eat. I was starving. I'm joined by Stato tonight. Paul is having a bit of family time, and well deserved it is too. Tonight we're going to discuss three little initials that are really controversial at the moment, FFP. But if you are new to the channel and you haven't seen us before, and you are seeing us for the first time, please hit that subscribe button because it's really we're on our way to 27,000 subscribers. We're motoring up that leaderboard at the Newcastle United YouTube channels, and hit the thumbs up as well. Give us a like. Also, memberships are available by clicking the join button below us, and also super chats by clicking the $sign. I'll take you to a payment method where you can give us whatever you feel we deserve. Good evening, Stato. How are you?
I don't really know. Football-wise, mixed emotions. There's been so much going on. I mean, the Joe Linton and Bruno interview in their Adidas kit was awesome, but then Richard Masters has been saying funny things, and then there's some funny accusations in the news about our chairman, and then there's more FFP and transfers. It's just all over the place at the moment. There's just so much going on, and there's AFCON. It's madness. Considering there's no football on this weekend, it's mad.
Yeah, considering it's a break in the winter breaks here, and there's more going on than usual. And we'll start with FFP, though. I mean, Everton and Forest have obviously been charged with violating the rules of FFP. Everton for the second time, of course, this season. Seems a bit unfair to me, that. As does the Nottingham Forest one, to be honest. And what's your understanding of why they've been done? I mean, the Forest one, we all questioned the amount of signings they made when they came up, didn't we? I mean, they did make an awful lot of purchases when they first came into the Premier League, getting them for 18 months ago now.
Yeah, I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If they hadn't have invested enough, because they really did struggle. They had to try and buy tested and proven. They tried to buy some reasonable quality. They tried from home and abroad. And they eventually found a strong enough team that gelled. But then that's essentially, it looks like it's going to get them docked points and get them potentially relegated. But then if they didn't do that, they were also going to get relegated. So it's basically, well, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? And unless you get something, unless you get an absolute world beater come through the academy that you can somehow retain in up to maybe their early 20s and cash in for loads of money. Unless you get into sort of a Jack Grealish at Villa situation. Obviously, Villa had got a lot more in terms of recent years, in terms of finances and revenue, had got a lot more than Forest had with all their seasons in the Championship. What other way is there that they could have done it? And there was an Everton spokesperson that said, well, you know, they took their punishment on the chin. They tried to tidy up their finances. They sold Richarlison. They've got a new stadium to try and increase revenue and to try and do it the right way. They've accepted what they did wrong. And then they're going to get a double whammy. And as much as I don't like Everton, what are you supposed to do? Again, another situation where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you aren't, if you don't. So it's just baffling. It's just baffling. And the fact that in this Richard Masters interview, he referenced big teams and small teams in his own interview is just disgusting. They're just so out of touch. And he was talking about the fans and what the fans want. And in his opinion, what the fans want. Mate, you ain't a fan. You ain't got a clue what we want. Not a clue. I don't particularly like Everton and I feel sorry for him. So the fact that we don't like clubs and we feel sorry for him, it just shows just how out of touch they are. It's ridiculous.
Well, as you've mentioned there, Richard Masters was called before the Parliamentary Committee for Culture, Leisure and Sport today. And as you said, he referred to Nottingham Forest and Everton as smaller clubs. I'm sorry, that's not on. And Tomlin says here, Masters, FFP will be looked at shortly, inverted commas, like our takeover will be looked at shortly. How shortly is shortly? How long is a Masters minute? A, 1 minute, B, 24 hours, C, 6 weeks, and D, 18 months. He has got past 4 minutes kind of kicking the can down the road, hasn't he?
Well, he says that everything is being done. Well, I don't want to misquote him, but he basically alluded to the fact, I'm paraphrasing, that everything was being looked to in the same time frame and it was the same processes. So obviously the fact that Man City have got way more charges than other teams, he's trying to sort of suggest that it's all being looked at the same speed, but it just doesn't feel like that way. And the guy who actually asked the questions, sorry, I don't know what his name was. I didn't research that far, but he asked obviously the fact that Man City could bog the whole case down with lawyers, and the richer teams that have got more lawyers could just make this either go away, or they could drag it out. And some teams, and then obviously citing Everton and Forest, just get hit straight away. And it's not a level playing field. It's there was, and he made a reference to there's a big difference in the Premier League and the rest of football, but then there is then a further division within the Premier League itself of the bigger teams, as he was putting it, versus the small teams, as quoted by Richard Masters, as he called the small teams. So,
I mean, Nottingham Forest wouldn't have been in breach of this had they have sold Brennan Johnson. I think it's 9 days earlier. I mean, that's ridiculous. Surely they're going to dock them points for 9 days grace. That isn't fair, is it? I mean, that would never happen to, well, let's just say the big six, would it? Never on God's earth would it happen to them. I mean, we see Manchester United millions and millions of pounds in debt, and yet still spending away to the heart's content, which doesn't seem fair to me.
Well, I mean, we could arguably start spending what we know we're going to make next year in terms of additional broadcasting revenue for the Champions League and being in the Champions League and all the additional sponsorship money, but it won't go on the books in the right year and we'll get punished for it. So we're adhering to it and we're suffering. They're not adhering to it and they're suffering. It just doesn't seem to matter which way you do it, really, which is a shame.
Tom Lynch is... But he's rewording songs from 1992. He's got Jimmy Nail on there. Early on, there was a Salt and Pepper one. And Mary asks him, "What can I have whatever you want, please?" And Tom says, "Cola cubes." There you go, folks. That's a legal high if ever you wanted one. Cola cubes. The Forest one, as I just said, 9 days grace. Everton, as you've said, trying to build a stadium. Can't really remember any big signings this year, can you? Was there any? There wasn't really, was there? They sold Richarlison.
I mean, we can fact check it and make sure we're accurate with it. Everton.
I don't see what's changed between the original charge that they got earlier in the season and one now. If I'm perfectly honest, I mean, obviously we're normal laymen, so obviously we're not going to understand it. But I don't think many people do understand it. If I'm perfectly honest, I mean,
Jack Harris was a loan. Dan Newman was a $3 million loan for centre forward. Are they using him? Portuguese guy.
Occasionally.
Yeah, but they got rid of Moise Keane, Iwobi. I didn't realise they got 25 mil for Iwobi to Fulham. I didn't know that went under the radar. Demarai Gray to wherever that is, wherever he went for 9.3. Where's that he's gone to? It's Al Etifak. Okay, it's Jordan Henderson's club, Stephen Gerrard's. Yeah, so they've not spent ludicrously. I mean, they've brought in some free transfers. They got Tarkovsky in and a few loans here and there. It's not been crazy. It's not been crazy at all. They've been very careful the last couple of seasons, I would say.
Yano says, "Is FFP even a thing anymore since the introduction of profit and sustainability? Is there much difference between the two, Stato?"
In all honesty, I can't remember what the original FFP rules were. I just know, what we're calling FFP is obviously the profit and sustainability rules. Is the PSR now. We just call it FFP because everybody does. But it is technically something different. I can't remember what the difference exactly is, but obviously we know it in its current format with 105 million pounds, and you're not allowed to make the additional losses regardless of how much you've gone over. I mean, Mark Goldbridge has been talking about the same thing about whether you should be docked X amount of points depending on how many million you are over, so that you can, if you want to, push it, but it's at your own risk. Whereas this is just random arbitrary stabs in the dark, as you've alluded to. The fact that 9 days, 9 days grace between a transfer getting you in trouble or not is ludicrous. As long as your books are balanced. I understand the need to draw a line, but again, I allude to this on many shows. It's an arbitrary line drawn in the sand by just some random people, and it's just irritating.
Yeah, it certainly is.
It's never drawn in the line. The line's never drawn in the sand for the benefit of the smaller clubs, as Masters puts it.
Yeah,
funnily enough,
I saw this on Twitter today, and whether there's any truth in it or not, I don't know. Tristan Hall says, "Just for you lads, Sky Sports News, Newcastle looking at Edison from Atalanta as a replacement or cover for Bruno. He's 24 and a box-to-box midfielder."
Yes, I did see that today. I've already screenshotted stuff and started prepping for him for a transfer show, so he will be on the next transfer show.
D. So there you go. Edison from Atlanta. I don't know. Did he play against us? He may well have done. I don't know. I don't recall him. I've got to be honest.
I'll just have a look.
Profitability and sustainability is commonly known as financial. Yeah, that's what we said, isn't it? Ancient and Moo says, good evening from a very snowy Orkney. I've always said FFP is restrictive practice, and where anybody hasn't challenged it in court staggers me. I think Manchester City are going to, aren't they? I think there's no doubt about that.
I think we're at that point now, yeah.
Well, their date with the rule makers is supposedly the end of next season, which something that's been going on for 15 years or so. Seems a bit ridiculous when they're doing Everton and Forest in the same season as what they've fallen foul of it. So there's definitely a discrepancy between the bigger clubs and the so-called smaller clubs, in my opinion. How does it fit in with us, Stat? I mean, we're not spending any money at the minute, and Darren Neal's alluded to this last week, didn't he, in his interview, whether we believed it or not. Are we sailing close to the win, do you think?
Well, I can show you. So I've got the Swiss Rambles article here outlining our finances. So if you want to pop it up. So the Swiss Ramble, we've used these before. So big shout out to them. They always do some great football financial threads on Twitter. This is the link to actually to their Substack.
Can we zoom in a little bit to that one?
We can indeed, yeah. So Newcastle United finances 22-23. So the brief overview of this is obviously it just kind of sums up our season with getting to a cup final, finishing in fourth, yada yada, things we already know. Talks about the ownership, profit and loss. So it gives us our overall profit. So we did increase our revenue exponentially, which is great. So revenue shot up £70 million total, 39% from the 180 million previously. So a club record, which is great, a new club record of 250 million revenue. So operating expenses, 62 million. Player sales has halved from 6 to 3. Woo! Again, we know we've got no saleable assets, and we haven't had for many. Well, we've got some now, but we just don't want to sell them. But we've not had any decent sellable assets for a long time. So the loss after tax increased by 3 million to 73 million, as the previous year benefited from a tax credit. And then if we scroll down, we see some of the general data for profit. Well, for profit and loss. Interesting things to point out here for people who just don't care about numbers. Is wages to turnover is a really, really important one, which is down here. That's this one. So it's changed from 2022 to 2023. So we've actually managed to get the wage to turnover down from 95% to 75%, which is really, really important. Because over a 3-year period, they're restricting it down to 90, 80, 70. So despite the fact we've lost money, because we spent a lot on players, we've actually that's kind of helped our wage to revenue figures. So we're already nearly at that 70% that we're going to need to be in the future anyway, which is great, especially when we get the back end of the season out, and then we move players on with expiring contracts. If we can ship players such as Ryan Fraser as well, obviously we've got people like Dummett and Richie expiring, all on sort of £35,000 to £45,000 a week. Once they all disappear as well, this is probably going to dip well under 70. Then we'll get additional revenue. So we'll look really, really good in that regard. In terms of wages, we'll look great. So I reckon the summer we're going to absolutely go mental, because we're going to have all the new stuff announced. It's going to start factoring in the finances for the next season. So I think we're going to look a lot better in the summer. It's just January at the moment. There's not really a lot we can do. So if we scroll down, so all 3 revenue streams saw significant growth. So new club records were established in all 3 of those. So commercial was up 2/3, 19 million. So commercial revenue went up from 28 to 47 million, which is lovely. Match day, which is quite intriguing actually, went up 10 million. So even though we normally sell out, whatever the phrase is, we normally sell out quite a lot of the time. The fact that's a lot. I'm really interested to see what the breakdown would be. I don't think we'll be privy to that, but I'm quite interested to see how we've managed to increase it that much. Were we charging extra for burgers, or what are we doing?
More games possibly with the cup run and Also,
Potentially.
price increases, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I can't remember if there were much in the way of price increases. But yeah, potentially some price increases, additional games, additional home fixtures. So the smallest percentage growth was in broadcasting. And even though it was the smallest, it was still a 33% increase, which was decent. So it went up 41 million from 124 million to 165, which is great. So it's up in all three categories, which is fantastic. Obviously, we just spent money, so not quite as fantastic, but it's not our fault. Toon Army likes to gamble, so it is what it is. So there's a nice bar graph for you if you want to have a look at it. So, however, the cost base continued to grow as the new owners invested in the squad to compensate for the many years of austerity under Big Mike. You can don't like the way you phrase that, but I think there's a bit of sarcasm there. So wages increased 17 million. So even though we've managed to drop 20% in wage to revenue, our wages went up 17 million. So that's quite impressive. So that's just down to how much revenue increase we've had. So we've not actively reduced any wages. We've actually increased our wages, but it looks better in terms of the profitability and sustainability. Hang on, how do we say this? Profit and sustainability rules. There we go. That's the words. So player amortization surged £37 million as expected, because we, some of these players we brought on like Toon Army and stuff. So that's gone up from 50 to 87. So the amount annually we've got to pay towards the transfers over the duration of their contract. Other expenses rose to 6 million. So whatever an other expense is. So I'd love to know.
Agents.
It's just crazy, isn't it? So 40 million pounds.
I'm going to say it's agents.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure we've got a few self-employed people in the chat, or people who've been self-employed. Normally, your other expenses isn't quite 40 million pounds. That's bonkers to just be putting it as other stuff. But football clubs. So, despite the impressive revenue growth, the fact remains that Newcastle still lost 73 million pounds, which is the worst financial result in the Premier League.
Are you still there?
The 22-23 season. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Seems to have lost that out there. He's back.
Hello.
He's back.
I think my internet's having a bit of a wobble. Sorry, guys. Yeah, we lost 73 million pounds, which isn't very good. Which is why it's kind of why we can't do a lot right now. There's no wiggle room. So we're doing all right, but I'd say until the summer, we can't really do anything unless we bring in some loans for a reasonable price. I can see why, I can see why we've not really brought anyone in, or why we're struggling. We're not going to be paying silly £6 and £7 million loan fees. We just can't afford it on the books. I think it's smart too as well, because Everton and Forest are being punished.
Yeah,
it looks like if we do even put so much as a toe over the line, they'll throw the book at us. So, I mean, if people are saying we should just force it and buy some players, it would just dock us points. Makes no difference.
No,
it makes no difference. It's going to happen no matter which way around we do it. So, don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think obviously we've seen what they've done to Everton twice in one season, and Forest now as well. There's no doubt that they'll be after us like a cat on a hot tin roof, so to speak. Another story that came out today, David Burris mentions it here. Even lads, have you seen the crack on our chairman today? Could have a damning effect on our club. It's pretty naughty. I've seen a little bit. I'm not quite sure what it is. It doesn't sound good. It's something to do with...
I'm not really sure. I briefly read the article, but I'm not well informed enough to talk about something that high profile and political. I don't think most people are. I think we're going to have a look at it very, very carefully before we talk about it on the show, because it's quite a big accusation. So
it is indeed.
Yeah, we'll leave it for another show potentially.
I agree with you. Mick J says, "Evening team, hope you are well. There's only one word for FFP: corruption, and I'm surprised PIF haven't looked into this and taken it to court as restriction of trade away the lads and lasses." I mean, that's possibly a step that maybe Everton or Forest will take. I mean, they're being punished for it, unless they're not allowed to, of course. Ian Stevenson's had his takeaway. He's had chicken curry, fried rice, and pork and chips. There you go. Hope you get it quicker than I did. Daniel says FFP confusing and contradictory. It seems that way, doesn't it? Certain teams seem to be getting away with murder. Certain teams not. I mean, we could have guessed that Forest would be in this kind of trouble. Chelsea, on the other hand, have spent the verge of £1.5 billion, and they had their FFP ceiling reset on the proviso that Abramovich would give money to the Ukraine war funds or something. That hasn't come about yet, and yet they're still spending to their heart's content. So,
I mean, we can have a look. So departures. So we can show you how they've done it
with Chelsea.
So, yeah. So this is how they've done it. Is we all know that they obviously were handing out the really, really long contracts up to 8 years for like Mudryk. I think Enzo Fernandez was an 8 as well, if I'm not mistaken. But then obviously they changed the rules in the summer to stop you doing that. So I think. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the second way they've done it is just by selling loads of players. That's all they've done because they had saleable assets. We just don't. Yeah. So Kai Havertz, 75 million. Mason Mounts it. Well, this is in euros, to be fair. So convert it into the right change. 64 million euros for Mount, 30 for Kovacic, 23 for Koulibaly, 20 for Pulisic. I mean, you guys can read. I don't know why I'm reading this out, but it's just so much money. And then they benefit from the fact that when you buy it, it gets amortized. So when you sell them, the whole value goes into your book straight away. But when you buy a player, you can amortize it over the duration of that player's contract. So if you sign a player on, I don't know, a 5-year deal for £50 million, on books wise, you would only put 10 million per season against that in transfer amortization. So you wouldn't, this is how they've done it. They've essentially got nearly 200 million odd in player sales. Plus they had their slate wiped clean on top of that. And they were doing these silly contract things, shenanigans. It's all of that mixed in together. And if I'm honest with you, I hate it. But it wouldn't surprise me if they've actually not broken any rules.
They are being looked at, though, by all accounts.
Which irks me. It wouldn't surprise me if they're fine, which really gut-wrenching, because it just means it's been loopholed to hell, which shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Paul Tully says the situation is a strange one. Surely the club knew the boundaries at the end of last season, part of the plan, so how come we've come to a transfer window with nothing? I'm going to guess you can say that in 2 words. Sandro Tonali, I don't think they expected him to be banned for the whole season.
Like worst case scenario, you prep for an ACL or something really severe, but the fact that we've got Willock, Anderson, and Tonali all gone ping at the same time for huge amounts of time. Like, I mean, we are going to talk about this later on in the show, but obviously, if Bruno gets his when Bruno gets his yellow card, he's out for what, 2 games? Is it a 2-game suspension on your when you get your 10 yellow cards?
Yeah.
So potentially, the midfield consists of Sean and Lewis Miley. That's it. That's all we've got.
Another.
That's all we've got. Sean Longstaff, Lewis Miley. That's it. As soon as Bruno gets that yellow, that's it. That's all we've got for 2 matches. So, obviously, we'll get onto this in a little bit. The options are either, which I'm sure everybody's furiously typing, put Fabian Schär in midfield. No. We're also not going to put Miggy in midfield. No. Are we going to change the shape? Possibly. I think that we recalled Joe White from his loan in League 2 at Crewe, specifically for this reason. But so we'll go and have a look at Joe White and see if he's any good. Stop typing Fabian Schär for CDM. It breaks my heart when people say that. Anyway, sorry, Billy, go on.
It's all right. JT Toon says, I can honestly see some of the Premier League clubs getting together with us at the helm to challenge the bollocks that is FFP in the not too distant future. It's blatantly obvious what its purpose is. Well, apparently, Mr. Masters said today that they were going to look at the rules in February.
I heard that as well.
Clubs, so after the horse has bolted, they're going to shut the door. February, Man City, Chelsea, us, and a few others, and all the rest of the clubs are going to get together with Mr. Masters and discuss altering the rules or tailoring it to specific needs or whatever. But that's not going to help Nottingham Forest or Everton, is it? So I'm sure they'll be really pleased to know there's going to be changes after. Paul says that Forest were cheap man's Chelsea both made stupid number of signings with no clear plan on how to use them. Forest had to, though, Paul, because the side that got promoted was mainly loans, wasn't it? So they had to sign some players of their own.
Yeah.
They did make some daft
They just threw
signings.
money at it.
Yeah, they did.
But if they didn't do that, they'd have gone down. So again, it's I mean, you're not wrong, but again, we're not wrong. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Right?
Yeah. Again, Man City should be 2, said Ben, but their lawyers are insane. And this is the big one. Kenny W says, I think Lingard had something to do with it. Forest fans said, I think he'd have a lot to do with it. 200k a week. I think he played about 6-7 times for them. Yeah, I think
it wasn't a lot, was it?
He's a massive reason why they're in the doo-doo. Noel Powell says they're putting out Edison as the Bruno replacement. All these pundits and media.
They're trying to create the narrative. They're trying to will it into existence.
Aren't they just? They're trying to sell him for us. Kenny says this has to be the most frustrating season ever. Daniel says FFP has been a double-edged sword for Forest. Yes, it has. But even so, I mean, the rules are. I mean, they haven't even had 3 years in the Premiership yet. It's got to be over a 3-year period. So I'm not sure how it works unless they've overspent by that much already. I don't know.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, this is season 2 for them, isn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll all be outlined when they get. Well, they've been charged, but once they get punishment as well, I'm sure they'll go into detail.
Tim Vickery on Sky Sports, their Brazilian expert, has been on TV saying Newcastle are trying to sign Edison from Atalanta. So it's broken. No, he's leaving or cover.
So Bruno is leaving or cover, I think he meant to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite sad that your phone has auto-corrected Bruno to broken, because that's what we will be if we lose Bruno.
He's correct indeed, yeah. FFP is like Sunderland. It's there. We might not like it, but it's not going away. And we have to work with it. We don't have to work with Sunderland. They're in a different league. Unless we draw them in a cup, of course. Don't forget, folks, hit that thumbs up button. It really does help us out. And if you are enjoying what you're seeing and you are a newbie to the channel, hit that subscribe button also. Super chats are also available by clicking that $sign below us down there. What else we got here in the chat? Ian says it was a disgrace calling Everton and Forest small clubs. I couldn't agree more. It was a proper belittling of them, wasn't it? My colleague's a Liverpool fan, and even he feels sorry for Everton. Another news today was Mr. Jose Mourinho got the sack at Roma Stato. Of course, that prompted rumours and counter-rumours of him maybe coming to replace our manager at Newcastle United. That's not going to happen, I wouldn't have thought. But what was your opinion of Mr. Mourinho getting the ting tack down there in Rome?
I mean, I don't know where they were in the table.
9th.
Were they 9th?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not great sort of longevity and squad building and harmony. But again, for everybody who says he's not very good, I mean, he got them to 2 European finals in 2 years. Say what you will. He won the Conference League in his first year, and then he got to the Europa League final in the second year. And he wasn't terribly far away from that either. It was Sevilla pinched it, didn't it? I think we watched that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the way he plays. I think he'd like to play slightly more aggressive football, but depends on the personnel he's got available. I did feel sorry for his stint at Manchester United. I don't think he got back properly. And then as soon as he left, they threw loads of money at all the rest of the managers. It was ridiculous. But no, I don't think he's the right fit for us. I think stylistically, where we are, I just don't think it's the right fit. We do like him for the history and obviously the nostalgia, but I don't think he fits our blueprint, the way we want to play or anything. I think the way we've kind of gone is massively away from what a Mourinho would bring to us.
Yeah. Might not concede goals though. Wouldn't score many, but we can see many.
We might not score any either. I think we wouldn't get much out of Isak.
Nick Thornton says, so I've got zero sympathy for Everton or Forest. If we broke FFP, the entire league would be in meltdown and demanding the harshest punishment. Two sides of your story, I guess. You probably are right, but I mean, this could easily happen to us. This is the point of it. Today it's Everton and Forest. Tomorrow it could be us. It could be anybody. The only one that seems to me that are nowhere near it in the so-called smaller clubs league is Brighton, because of their selling record over the past 4 or 5 years. And they've sold a vast amount of players for lots of money. Yeah. They've done really well with that, haven't they? Let's get Nick DeMarco in it, says Tom. Apparently Forest have the Forest have got Nick DiMarco on board with their legal case. So, I don't think the Premier League will be happy to see him against them again. Nikolai says, we always talk about FFP, which is nowadays actually called PSR, I believe, linking it to the cartel, but it's nowadays the UEFA thing, isn't it? Two different sets of rules, isn't it? I mean, Chelsea actually did get punished by the UEFA sets of rules, didn't they, 2 or 3 years back? They're on about changing ours to theirs now, which is probably worse, if I'm perfectly honest. But we shall see what happens in January.
Rip it up and start again. Not fit for purpose at all. People keep using that phrase. It's not fit for purpose, and I find it difficult to disagree with you. I think it's not fit for purpose at all.
And it is anti-competitive, and I think Kev T says it's right there. Abuse of dominant position. Yeah, I agree. Although Troll says, sad to say, if you break the rules, you will get punished. Good thing they changed for next season. Indeed. Says a club that is within FFP can sell a player 50 million and recruit 250 million pounds worth of players, and that is deemed more sustainable than a team that's overspent by 1 million. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's true. It is very true.
Absolute madness. It's absolute madness. It is. So we haven't been able to strengthen because of FFP. And as you alluded to earlier, we have recalled a young lad from Crewe, Alex Andra. Is it this fella here?
It is, yeah. He's just not got a photo on Transfermarkt, which is a shame.
Well, there he is, Joe White.
He deserves one. He's 21 years old and he's played for a few clubs in the pyramid. So
it looks like Tintin.
So for people who don't know Joe White, I mean, he doesn't look exactly like this. He has a face. So let's introduce you to Joe White, because I'm putting the chips on the table. You're going to see him in the next few weeks. Pretty sure, pretty certain of it. We're going to see Joe White at least on the bench, if not in midfield, which is madness considering he's just been recalled from a League Two side. Anyway, 3 caps at England under 18 level. Born in Carlisle, he is technically one of our own in the academy. He has a player agent as well. I didn't realise that. Very nice. So, what else did I want to show you from here? I mean, not really a lot from this bit. We can see where he's been up to now. So, where has he been plying his trade? So, us, Hartlepool, Exeter City, Crewe Alexandra. So, he's done a little bit of League One, a little bit of League Two, bits and bobs, odds and sods, that kind of stuff. So, he's not played at a higher level than League One. And there wasn't too much into the way of appearances at League One level either. So, if we go to his FB ref, we don't have data because it is in League Two, but he has played over 1,200 minutes this year for them in League Two with 5 goal contributions, which is nice. Mm-hmm. He's playing in central midfield. He's been given the number 30 shirt, and he's starting in the centre, especially in recent weeks, with 20 appearances. One thing that I really like about him, he's 6'1", he's physically strong, and he's left-footed. So, he might not be playing at the right technical level, but in terms of physicality and can he just sit there and concentrate and do a reasonable job? Possibly. In terms of his previous seasons, so when he played for Hartlepool, he made 9 starts for them as an 18-year-old when they were in League Two. He made 6 starts, 16 appearances for Exeter when they were in League One. And then obviously he played a little bit in sort of our reserve setups. And then he went out on loan this season, 14 starts, 20 appearances. And now he's 21 years old now with his 5 goal contributions. So he's progressing well. Obviously, we're a little bit higher, more of a higher level than that at the moment, which is a concern. But so let's look at the important bit. So his SOFA score, there he is. That's Joe White. So 21 years old, birthday on the 1st of October. So he's 21 and a bit. So 186, like we said, 6'1". So he's a decent height, decent physicality, left-footed. Let's go down and see how he's done recently, shall we? So not bad. Some rather flattering scores here on SofaScore. If we go and have a look at the Crewe versus Mansfield game, Mansfield were 3rd in the league at the time of that. So Crewe did very well. I think Crewe were in 5th. So 5th in League Two. They beat Mansfield, who were 3rd place, pushing for automatic promotion. He scored the only goal of the game and dropped an 8.1, which is rather impressive. So if we scroll in, so they played a 5-3-2 with Joe White at the heart of everything, which is nice to see. He's been given such responsibility as a young man. So heat map, he's very, very active. He's everywhere. Played 79 minutes. He got his goal. Nice and tidy passes, 19 out of 21. 5 key passes, 4 accurate long balls is really, really nice. And getting stuck in physically, 5 out of 6 ground duels is immense as well. So against a team vying for automatic promotion, not a bad performance from the young man at all. Very, very impressed. Albeit it is League Two. But again, you can only play what's in front of you guys. Another good performance here against Accrington Stanley, a 3-3 match in which he got an assist in. I think they have recently changed shape. So he was playing, it was kind of a weird, a little bit different. So he's got more of an isolated role in the middle at the moment, whereas this was a few weeks ago. So we did drop a 7.9. Again, he's all over the pitch. He gets around. Not too many passes. I can't imagine they're getting too much possession because he's not getting too much of the ball, but still. Good passing accuracy there. 3 key passes, 5 accurate long balls. He is being asked to do things. He's being asked to ping the ball about and create. Obviously, we might not ask him to do that for us, but it's there. At a League Two level, at least, it's there. Let's not forget Elliot Anderson played at League Two level, and now we really like him. So it doesn't mean that Joe White is as good as Elliot Anderson, but it means he's passable somewhat. Ground duels again, 7 out of 8. So he's there physically. I like him. I think he's okay. I know I'm kind of presenting it like it's a transfer show when it's not. It's not like we're gonna buy him. I'm trying to convince myself that he'll do all right for 2 matches if we need him. He might do. He's not terrible, but it's really difficult to see one of those. It's difficult to know if he takes that step up, if he just looks lost. It could be one of those where you plop him on my midfield and it looks like a step too far and he looks awful. I hope not, because he's putting up some good numbers in League Two. He might be a really good player at a good level in the pyramid at some point. And I think it's worth keeping your eyes and ears open. I think you'll probably see him at least on our bench in the next few weeks, unless we absolutely U-turn and start using Isaac Hayden, which I don't think is very likely.
I think we're liable to see him on the bench before he starts. I mean, maybe the next game, if Bruno was maybe the cup time, maybe sling him on the bench. And if he can, give him 10, 15 minutes of experience, see what he does. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to put someone there, whether it's an archaic Matt Ritchie or a young lad. I mean, you'd obviously go
maybe he's been brought back to train with the first team and get him up to speed.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. I think we will see him. We need somebody to come in for the door and help out, and we'll have our own.
Well, I
guess it makes sense.
I don't know. I don't even know what squad number he would have or did have. I mean, he's not here, so. I mean, I haven't got my tactical board. I don't know how to find the tactical
I'll do a few
board.
comments. The Mancunian Way, a very good Manchester City channel. If you're ever stuck for a bit of Man City content, go and see these lads. They're good. 9 clubs voted for FFP, including Newcastle, with Ashley, though, not PIF. It was all to stop Man City and never realised it would hurt them. We voted against FFP. Wonder why that was. So Masters does not want the so-called smaller teams to compete, hence FFP rules. That's what it looks like to me. And to the vast majority, I've got to say. Not good. Colin says it winds me up that us Newcastle fans can't enjoy our owners spend the money that they've clearly have. We will never go bust. Owners worth 700 billion. Should give Premier League 5 billion, say we will spend. They'd probably get into trouble for that if they did that, to be fair as well. How did Forest not see this coming? Sorry, but they bought loads. They did. But they had to, didn't they? I think they probably bought too many. I don't think they did the manager any favours by buying as many as they did. But there you go. I mean, Chris Wood spent a lot of money for him, and they're paying him 100 grand a week.
Oh, I don't like it at all.
Right, I'm going to put this on screen.
Oh,
Let's have a look.
I don't like it. Don't look at it, guys. Look away. Close your eyes. Oh. I really don't like it. Oh God. I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm actually, for once, I'm lost for words.
Why? You've got to put someone there.
He's not a bad player. He's doing all right for himself as a young man in League Two, but good God. Longstaff as the 6. with Miley and Joe White. So for people who are joining us late, Joe White is one of our players who we loaned out to Crew Alexandra, and we've recalled him, presumably with the intention of him maybe playing or being part of the matchday squad for when Bruno inevitably gets his 2-match ban with his 10th yellow card. So when Bruno's out for 2 games, so no Bruno for 2 games, there'll be no Joe Linton, no Tonali, no Anderson, no Willock. So the only options is drafting Isaac Hayden from the cold or
formation change.
Joe White. Pretty saying we haven't recalled him. I'm pretty sure we have.
Yeah, I think we have. I'm pretty sure I've read that he's come back. Chipper says FFP needs scrapping. It clearly still isn't fair. What I was going to say there, yeah, formation change. 3 at the back, wing backs, 2 in the middle. So it's a bit like a 3-4-3. We could probably do that, could we?
So he's loan ended and he came back. Okay, same thing. Okay, he's with us. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Ben says, did you see the Isaac video with Sky and Bruno and Big Joe on Nuts Football showing the Adidas boots and wearing Adidas retro Newcastle kits? Fantastic, wasn't it?
I'm halfway through it. I haven't finished it yet.
Oh, Bruno and Joe Linton's fantastic. It's not really the kind of signs of a man who was desperate to leave the club, I've got to say.
No, it looks like he's fully enjoying it, doesn't he? Clearly
loves the club with everything he's got, really. So, yeah, it was a great video. I've not seen the Isaac one yet, but I'm going to see it. Troll said it would be great to see Everton in the Championship, to be honest, but with a new stadium. Refied Benitian says Everton's been done for breaking the rules on the last 3-year FFP cycle and now on the current 3-year FFP. I've been done twice in 6 months. But this is the whole point of it. Why weren't they done for the last 3-year cycle when it was happening? Seems like they've suddenly got the stuff into gear and they're just punishing left, right, and centre now. When Everton really should have been punished last season or the season before, shouldn't they?
Well, yeah, I do remember that at the time. That was when we weren't sure if we were going to be going down or not. When obviously early doors when we had the takeover, and they were dragging on their punishment. But just in the whole context of everything, I just feel sorry for everyone else who's not Man City, because it's just ridiculous that they can basically, if you just, instead of committing a crime, just commit all of the crimes, and it just takes so long to figure you out. It just doesn't matter anymore. It shouldn't be like that. They've set a precedent now with the 10 points deduction. So if Man City don't finish anywhere, if they finish anywhere higher than League 2, then it's been a joke. They need, honestly, they throw the entire book at them. It's their own fault.
If it's true, of course. I mean, Man City...
Well, out of 115 charges, they've made up 115. Surely a few you can squabble and maybe justify, but 115.
It's an awful lot, I must say.
Even if half of them are wrong, it's still over 50 that are 50 more than Everton got charged with. So that's... We're going to dock them 500 points? Like, what are we going to do?
No, I don't know. I mean, obviously, Man City are confident of being able to beat the charges, but then again, I guess they've got deeper pockets.
What else are they supposed to do except legally dissolve? Like they've got a challenge, haven't they?
I guess so. Mark Wagstaff makes a point. Don't know if he's still injured, but I'll give Matt Target a run out. CDM, quick, strong, and can pass the ball. He can pass the ball. I'm not sure he's quick, but potentially they might think of repositioning the player, mightn't they? I guess Matt Target would fit the bill in that stats, wouldn't he? I guess he would.
I don't know. I just feel like it's another one of these examples where having one player who's a little bit out of position or a test is fine.
Yeah.
But when you have the whole thing as a makeshift, it's just not. It's too much. You know, having Miley in at the moment is enough of a test, as well as he's doing. Yeah, no, it's just I don't want us to play any games without Bruno, because whenever we play without Bruno, we just look awful.
Yeah. Paul says, right, this season off, people are mad. FA Cup is there to have a go at. Let's finish as high as we can as we get players back. We could still have a great season. The point is, though, I agree with that too, but the injury records, to kind of synopsis, aren't great, are they? I mean, there's one or two coming, but they're like Murphy maybe back and Wilson for the next game. But I mean, Joe Willock, Harvey Barnes.
The BBC did an article on it. We've got by far the worst injury rate this season out of any club in the Premier League. Yeah. Absolutely decimated, well over 800 days. It's going to be well extended now. Joe Linton's out again as well, probably close to 900. Then when you factor in Tonali's suspension, which isn't even an injury, we have been absolutely decimated. It's probably one of the worst seasons. I'd say this is probably close to one of the worst seasons anybody's ever had injury-wise. We can't be far away. It's just really, really bad. Has he played in the FA Cup for Crewe? That is a good question. I will have a look. Yes. Oh, no. Oh, hang on a minute. Crewe versus Bristol Rovers, not applicable. So did he not play? He did. Yeah, he played against Bristol Rovers. And they got knocked out anyway. So he can't play. He can't play for us in the FA Cup.
Captain Keith Hart says, no disrespect to Joe White at all, but it's unbelievable how desperate we are as the club with the richest owners in the world. That's what the rules are there for, to stop us from competing, isn't it? It's plain and simple to see. Ab says, I'm glad we have 29 points in the bank, the way things are going.
Let's say we broke the rules and we got to 39, they just take 10 off us again anyway. So, well, maybe not immediately, but you know what I mean.
I don't know any manager that could have done a better job than Eddie in this situation. Why would we even consider a change? Eddie is still the key to our future success.
I don't think we are considering a change. I just think it's because Mourinho is available. People are writing things.
Yes, Mindhunter says Eddie Howe cost us against City. Again, this is rumours, but apparently before Kevin De Bruyne came on, Eddie Howe was about to take Bruno off because of a hamstring issue. Don't know how true that is, but I don't believe it because he would never have kept.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of people say that, but it's never been sort of followed up, so I don't know. No idea.
I mean,
I don't. Why would that be? Why did Eddie Howe cost us against City? What more? Again, for anybody saying that, because I was getting really frustrated with certain comments last week when we did the review. What was he meant to do? Put Karius on as a DM? Put Gillespie up front? Put Dummett in midfield? There's nobody. I don't think Howe did anything wrong at all. Like what? There was nothing else he could have done. He tried to address the issues. He tried to address the space in midfield. I don't think he could
have brought some legs on for earlier and certainly took Isaac off. He didn't.
But I don't think that's enough of a reason to say he's the reason we lost.
No, definitely not.
Bringing Parkinson on for Isak at sort of 75, fine, fair shout, but it doesn't mean it's the reason we lost. It's just, yeah.
He also, I don't think Mindhunter's an Eddie Howe fan. He says he also cost us against Liverpool when they had a red card. To a certain extent, I can agree with that.
That's different, and yeah, there's a lot more in that. That's fair. I think a lot of it was down to our players as well. I think they got really scared for no reason at all. I think they weren't ready for that was pre-Champions League games. That we were beating Liverpool and we were ready to beat them, and then they just capitulated.
David says Elliot Anderson would have thrived with plenty of playing time. Such a shame. Hope he's back soon. Bit more bite than Miley. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And there's no kind of time scale for when he comes back either. One, I put Trippier in his DM. Ivani Granny says Livermento's DM. Julie says more bothered with Longstaff being a 6. He wants too much time on the ball, doesn't he? 12-man Toon says surely it's less risky playing Isaac Hayden. He's not that bad, especially with Howe's coaching.
I mean, you'd think so. Originally, I was a little bit sorry for Isaac Hayden because I thought I was interested to see how he would have done in that first season when Howe came in. How do you spell Isaac's name? Isaac Hayden. I can't spell his name.
ISAAC.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, when Eddie Howe first came in, I felt really sorry that he got his knee injury because I thought Hayden could have been one of those rejuvenated players under Howe, and it just never happened, unfortunately, because of that injury. Right, so how has Hayden been going? I mean, being as we're doing the show and we've talked about White, I mean, we can have a look at Hayden if you want to.
Yeah, have a quick look at him.
His weakness, according to SofaScore, is discipline. Oh dear.
Shall I bring it up? You got him up?
Yeah, you can do. I've got him up now. I've got him up on SofaScore. So I'll zoom in a bit. There he is. He doesn't look particularly happy in this photo.
Still only 28 as well. Good Lord.
Yeah, could have been using him, but so a handful of games for Standard Liège. I mean, there's nothing above a flat 7. I'm guessing he's just being a sitter. Where is he? Zoom out. Did he not even start? Oh no, he was on the bench. He came on the 88th minute. Okay, well, that doesn't count. They got battered 6-0. Wow. Did he start that game? He did. Well, that's concerning. Well, that's rather concerning, isn't it?
You look at the opposition. They've got some decent players in it. I mean, I just saw
Janssen,
Alderweireld and people like that playing.
Alderweireld, Somalia Koulibaly's not bad. They've got Richie Delat in there, Premier League winner. They've got Vincent Janssen up front as well. So they've got some household names in here. And this guy put a 9.4 up. Yeah, so they started on 4-4-2. Their back four had an absolute horror show. Hayden actually coming out with the highest rating in the side, to be fair to him. What did he do? He defended sort of the right side. I mean, it's not bad, to be fair. He was very tidy with his passing. He won most of his duels, 8 out of 10. He was fouled 4 times. It looked like considering they got smashed 6-0, it doesn't look like he did too bad, to be honest. I mean, we'll do one more just for the sake of it. He started in the centre in a 3-5-2. What is with these funny formations today? I love some of these names. Bilal Bafdili and Rob Schoofs. Some great names in this league.
What's in the bloody Patrick Pickle, is it? Number 77.
Patrick Puflutska, however you say that. How do you do? So he seems to favour right side, even when he plays centrally. Again, another 90% passing accuracy game. 3 out of 3 long balls, winning most of his physical duels. I mean, he's not putting up bad statistics. I don't know why nobody wants him. I mean, what's his? Is he still getting injured every 5 minutes? Is that a problem?
He likes to have a bit of a physio's attention when he's on the pitch, doesn't he?
Well, yeah.
I think every game I've ever seen him play, he's had a bit of a couple of minutes break while the physio comes on and attends to him.
I mean, he's not had anything listed on transfer mark since he was at Norwich. I mean, he missed a lot of games for Norwich. Christ, he missed 30 games for them. No wonder they didn't enjoy his loan spell. So yeah, nothing in there about that. Chelmsford. I mean, he's still got another 2.5 years on his contract. Oh, I mean, we're gonna have to do something with the man. We've got to do something with him. We can't just float him around for another 2 years. We've got to find him a home. Whether we use him or we've got to do something with him because, yeah, contracted until June the 30th, 2026. I mean, we're only in January of 24. That's 2.5 seasons of. Well, no, it's not. If I can count, is that 2.5 seasons? Am I being silly?
Yeah. No,
it is 2.5 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got a few of these floating around as well that have got their contract dates are 2025, 2026. I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, God knows what his wages still are. Probably 35 to 45, you'd imagine. I think he was one of those people who got a new one just as Ashley was going through the door. Hayden. Oh, he's at Hayden. He's on a rumoured £22,000 a week. So, not as bad.
Surely a championship side would be able to afford that, surely.
I mean, his FB ref's not terrible, to be completely honest with you. I mean, he's, £22,000 a week, 28 years old, nearly 29, 6'1", bundles of experience, 800 minutes worth of data on FB ref. Based on what? Based on him being at what club exactly? Was this Norwich? I think it's maybe a mixture of possibly Standard Liège and a bit of Norwich. But he's putting up great numbers. I say great numbers. It's fine. He's a defensive midfielder. He's passing the ball fairly okay. He's stepping out and beating his man sometimes, and his defensive numbers are fairly solid. He's reasonable. And yeah, there's no point in me comparing him to Longstaff because this isn't his data against the top 5 leagues. This is his data against the men's next 14 competitions. So the actual percentiles will be against MLS, Championship, the Portuguese league. So it doesn't hold as much weight comparing these. But I mean, he looks like he be reasonable for someone if he can stay fit.
Oh, Football Steve makes an interesting point. Apparently, the Man City charges are difficult because some of the evidence has come from hacked emails. Talk TV and Talk Sport presenter. That'll be interesting. There needs to be an inquest into the medical department when the season's over. I think I agree with you. I totally agree with that. Some of the stuff that we've had to go through this season, playing players injured and things like that one. You know,
I mean, we will do a show on injuries specifically, so that's going to be horrible because we'll go through the whole lot. But it's got to be done.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's final comment. Why is everyone forgetting about Spurs' violations, backhanders to Harry Redknapp, etc.? Yeah, they were never punished for that, were they, Spurs? Never punished for it.
Yeah, it's a long time ago now.
We have a $5 Canadian dollars, I guess it is, from yard sale. Played Trips as a 6 with Longstaff and Miley and Tino right back. I'd honestly played that with Bruno Trips in the 6 and pushed Bruno up to create.
Yeah, maybe. But obviously the issue. Hang on, put that back up again. Is that assuming Bruno's playing?
Yeah, play him in the 8 with Trips in the 6 and Tino as right back.
Oh, isn't he'd do that when Bruno's back as well?
Maybe.
I don't think. I think Trippier will get used as sort of an inverted fullback midfielder, kind of in the way Trent is. I think we will start to see a changed role for him at some point.
Potentially. Right, folks, we've come to the end of the show. We've done an hour. Interesting chat with players and FFP and all sorts. Managers leaving the post and everything. But we've had a good chat for an hour. Don't forget to leave a like on the way out. You haven't already done so. Take a split second of your time to do that. We'll be back probably tomorrow with another show. But until then, I will bid you a good night and Stato can do my line.
Away the lads and lasses.
And we shall see you tomorrow night, folks. Good night.
Come back and check out some green.